Alright, we are here with the third round of the PappyPauper challenge. We're playing against Junglefiver, and we are going to take the play. We look at a one-land hand with no kind of way of accelerating our way through to casting something like a Mirror Enforcer, 3 Galvanic Blast with no way to cast them right now other than a single star. We are going to take a mulligan here. Our 6-card hand does not have any lands in it, and unfortunately we'll be also mulliganing that. Just waiting on our opponent to decide whether he's going to keep his 7. Our opponent, Junglefiver, is a YouTuber and content creator. He looks like he focuses mostly on modern, but is diving into the Pauper format for this, so we'll go down to 5 cards. This is not a good hand, but we will keep a 5, and we're hoping to scry a land to the top, or scry a non-land to the bottom and draw a land, so that we can kind of get our hand moving. If we draw a land in Prism, we can kind of go from there. So let's keep this 5. Yeah, we will keep that Seed of the Cyanide on top. And we'll pass the turn. Opponent leads with Scoured Barrens. Looks like he's on some sort of white-black list. They come in a couple of different flavors, but we'll kind of see what flavor of white-black opponent has decided to go with. Often play cards like Pestilence, Core Skyfishers, things like that to get value. Guardian Idol is a card I have not seen a lot of, but it's a 2/2 mana accelerator that also can become a creature. So we did not draw another land, but from here we're going to play our Carapace Forger. We don't really want to have to sacrifice an artifact if he's playing something like this figure. The other option would be to play Flare Husk to prevent against a possible sacrifice effect, but we'll start with Forger and go from there. Next turn we're likely to play the Prism along with hopefully a Flare Husk and potentially a Mirror Enforcer, depending on how our draw kind of shapes up. We'll see what opponent has for us on their turn 3. Potentially have access to a 4th mana here, yeah. And they do cast Chainer's Edict, so that was something that I worried about. And they're playing Kami of False Hope, which prevents all combat damage to be dealt. Likely they're on a way to recur that. We've got another Forger. I think I'm going to start with the Prophetic Prism here, looking to find our 3rd land. We don't, but we do find a Frogmite, so we'll play that. That's going to allow us to cast Mirror Enforcer and Flare Husk next turn, which does give us some redundancy in terms of creatures, and if we do draw another land, we'll be able to play one of our colored creatures as well. So Kami does make it hard for us to kill outright with Atog, but we can force them to have to use it to recur, and that's not the end of the world. It also only prevents combat damage, so we do have an out with Fling to kill them at some point, and lots of ways to try to draw into a Fling. Opponent with 5 cards in hand here. They did cycle a Baron more at the end of my turn, so likely have some more lands in hand. Perhaps deciding what land to play, maybe a bounce land, and deciding whether they need to tap anything first. They do go with a Chainer's Edict, so they'll sacrifice our Frogmite. And they'll get in for 1 damage with the Kami. And they do have a Basilica. Returning a Plains to their hand. Okay, so of note, they have 2 Chainer's Edicts in in their bin. We are going to go Frogmite and then Mirror Enforcer, or we can play Frogmite, Flare Husk, Mirror Enforcer, which does let us develop our board quickly, which is good. We need to do that. Next turn we can choose to play either Atog or a Carapace Forger, depending on how their board develops. Likely the Forger, as we don't want to run our Atog potentially into a Guardian Idol where we'd sacrifice something. Opponent plays Bajuka Bog, so still has a Plains in hand. So we know one of their cards in hand right now is Plains. Three mana. And play Pestilence. They have access to 1, 2, 3, 4 black mana, which is a reasonable amount. We are just going to go to attacks here and see what they do. May sacrifice the Kami here. Looks like they have, yeah. And we won't advance our board state anymore because they are going to be able to wrath our board, so we'll play the Ichor Wellspring here. And find a Spring Leaf Drum. Plays Pestilence for 1, kills our Flare Husk. It has access now to 5 black mana. And has access to Chainer's Edicts. So at this point this game is going to be challenging for us to win, since they can Edict away our Atog once we get there. Well, opponent looks like they're spending some mana to cast a spell. Looks like they're going to wrath Pestilence. Okay. Guardian Idol to keep the Pestilence alive. Chooses not to attack. We did draw Fling, which is kind of exactly the card we're looking for. We are not going to cast anything this turn. We're going to let the Pestilence die. We'll just play out the Springleaf Drum here. And pass the turn. Pestilence goes down. We know about one of their cards in hand being a Plains. And the hope here is to find one more mana source so that we can play a Tog and Fling for the win. They activate their Guardian Idol. Unlikely they're playing Prismatic Strands. If they're playing Kami of False Hope, it seems like you wouldn't play both in a deck. So if I draw another land, I'm feeling fairly safe about trying to go for it here. We don't. We just draw Springleaf Drum, so we'll play that. And pass the turn back again. Chose not to play their Plains here. Activate the Idol. If we don't draw a land, is to play the Carapace Forger. See if they'll spend some mana. Using a Chainer's Edict. Play Asherin Cleric to gain 3 life. And play a Plains. We don't draw a land, so we will just play this Wellspring out. We do find a land finally. And we'll pass the turn along. So we do have lethal here if we're able to get to that place, which we should be able to. Play or activate Guardian Idol. Looks like they'll attack for 3 here. And second Atog doesn't change anything, or doesn't really change anything. We can play 2 creatures out, see what they do in terms of trying to kill our creature, and then we can play our Atog for the win next turn. I think that's the safest plan. So we'll play a Atog. And then we'll also play our Carapace Forger. The reason I'm not going for it here is I would like to protect myself against Strands. I've already discussed that I think Strands is unlikely, but not impossible for our opponent to have. So let's see what they're able to do with their turn. They currently have access to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. If they spend 7 mana of their turn Chainer's Edicting, that would be ideal for us. If they tap out to kill both of our creatures, then we will have the win. So we have access to 21 damage right now with Atog and Fling here. Yeah, the Edict happens. So we'll sacrifice the Forger, and we'll see if they have anything for us here. Another Asherin Cleric. So now we don't have the win outright. We do a draw step plus 2 draws with the Wellspring, which makes it very likely that we will find a way to win this game with 3 draw steps. Opponent attacks us down to 6. Galvanic Blast should do it. Let's start sacrificing some artifacts. 2 Galvanic Blasts will definitely do it. Great. Mana land, so we'll start by blasting. Blast again. And let's make red mana. And sacrifice some artifacts. They are tapped out. We'll Fling, target them, sacrifice our Atog, and we've managed to win game number 1. A slow first game, but we were able to find a combo win there through their Chainer's Edicts and their life gain. Let's take a look at our sideboard. And see what cards we're interested in here. I like the Relic of Progenitus here. I think that card's going to be very good for us. I also like the Ray of Revelation. I don't know that we always have to worry about killing the Pestilence, but it can be good to have access to it. Obviously the Hydroblast are not where we need to be, neither are the Pyroblast. The Krark-Clang Shamans are not for this matchup. The Ancient Grudge, while they did have a Guardian Idol, Guardian Idol is not a card I'm worried about, same for Gorilla Shaman. The Electrickery is not something that looks like it needs to come in, neither is the Feed the Clan, leaving us with Dispel as the only other possible card that we would consider wanting to bring in. And looking at the removal that our opponent played that game against us, they played just the Chainer's Edicts, which are sorcery speed removal. It's likely they have something like Disfigure, possibly something like Unmake in their deck, or Doomblade. But I'm not sure that we're so worried about one of those 2 cards that we need a Dispel. In terms of what we want to take out for these 2 cards, I take out 1 Galvanic Blast. I like still having some ways to kill creatures and to have some reach, but our creatures are much more powerful than theirs, and so we don't usually need that. And then I'm also looking to take out 1 more card. I don't want to take out any threats, I don't want to take out any creatures, and so I'll take out 1 Ichor Wellspring here as well. And let's go to game number 2. Opponent has the option to take the play here. They do choose to take the play. Looking at our 7-card hand, again, it's not a keepable 7. We Only have one uncolored mana source with a chromatic star, but no guarantee that we're going to get to our second land. And our hand's not particularly explosive even if we hit a second land. So I am going to take a mulligan. Opponent has chosen to keep their 7. This is a better 6 than our 7. It does not have blue, which we're going to need to find, but it does have lands and it does have a creature. I'm not excited about this hand, but I will keep it. Thoughtcast can go to the bottom since we're looking for a way to play our Thoughtcast before we start keeping more Thoughtcasts in our hand. Start with a Swamp. Mere Enforcer. We'll start with our Great Furnace and pass the turn. Plains. Castigate. Reveal our hand and they could choose any non-land from it and exile it. Likely choosing the Enforcer. Could choose the Frogmite. Or choose one of our draw spells actually, and all of those are reasonable possibilities. It's unlikely we'll run out Frogmite here on turn 2. We're so likely going to run into a removal spell and would like to be able to play Frogmite and Mere Enforcer on the same turn. If they had left us with the Enforcer, they didn't. And let's take a look. Springleaf Drum's a good draw. That's going to let us play our drum. Now we will play our Frogmite. And we'll Thoughtcast. Okay. So that was an excellent turn. Now we've got 2 more really good threats. They are going to let us untap, which is fantastic. We will start by going to combat, attacking for 2. They'll take 2 damage. We'll play Carapace Forger. And a second Carapace Forger. Opponent does not have a 4th land and does not have a play. So let's start by playing a Prism and drawing another card. Mere Enforcer. We'll play our Star. And we currently have 7 artifacts, so I'm going to play the Enforcer right away because if the Frogmite dies, I don't want us to lose the ability to play the Enforcer. And we'll attack for 10 here. Opponent does have Prismatic Strands. Interesting to note, I wasn't sure whether they would have it or not, but it does have Strands. Correct from green, so they'll only take 2 damage this turn. Strands is useful in matchups against me, but not backbreaking, as my threats are different colors and in many cases colorless. It does its best job protecting against big ATOG swings or against Fling with ATOG. But on a board like this, it is going to save a bunch of life, but it doesn't fog completely like it does in other matchups. We still get to attack and get in for a reasonable amount of damage, which makes a big difference. So we'll start this turn by playing Perilous Research and sacrificing our Chromatic Star. We'll get 3 extra cards out of that. Didn't draw a lot of gas, but have a Frogmite now. So we'll attack here. Potentially our opponent down to 10, depending on whether they have another Strands or not. They do. There, 10. We have not a lethal attack next turn, again, if they have a creature, so they can play Strands. But we are, again, looking like we're in pretty good shape. They do play Kami, so they do have another fog effect here. And they have Orzhov Basilica. So they potentially have a lot of fog effects here with the Strands, along with the Kami. They can't really Strands here, or they can. It puts them to 2. So we'll see what they try to do, what they choose to do with this attack. Does just decide to sack his Kami. Not going to play out the Frogmite, or I should play out the Frogmite here. It does give us lethal through the strands. Deciding whether I wanted to in case they had a way to kill our creatures. Not going to play out a land here. I don't think there's a reason necessarily to or to not. Grim Harvest, return the Kami. Okay. So they do have us Kami locked. So we're going to be looking for an Atog and a Fling so that we can kill them through that means, or a way to get rid of their graveyard, which we have. So we definitely have some outs here. It's not impossible for us to win the game through this situation. We have 4 Atogs plus the Fling, and we have a bunch of card draw, so we're in not awful shape, and they are going to be forced to spend a lot of mana to keep this alive. It's going to cost them 4 mana every turn, and so it doesn't leave them a lot of ways to develop their board in any other meaningful way. I'm not going to play out this Frogmite. At this point, we don't need to play out any more creatures. We have enough for lethal through prismatic strands. So what we're looking for is to draw a way to get rid of his graveyard, or to again draw our Atog and Fling. Draws another land. Grim Harvest. So one of our ways to disrupt this is to either also draw a Galvanic Blast. That will also disrupt this. Thoughtcast is an excellent draw here. Got some extra pieces. Perilous Research is another good one. Some more cards, and we drew the pieces we were looking for. And we do have lethal here, so the plan at this point is to attack with everything, force them to Grim Harvest, back their Kami, and then we can Fling Atog on second main. That's the timing we're looking for here. Player Atog. Player Frogmite, because it doesn't really matter. We'll tap for red, and we'll start sacrificing. Target our opponent, sacrifice our Atog, and we were able to win that game. And just exchanging some banter with our opponent. Okay, so it looks like we were able to get through the quarterfinals of the PappyPauper challenge against Junglefiver. Just letting my opponent know. Just thanks again, and have a good day. Okay, so that was round 3 of the PappyPauper challenge. We'll take a quick peek at our deck so we can talk about any Pauper, Affinity. So talk about how that matchup kind of finished itself off. So our opponent had a pretty powerful lock in terms of Kami, which forces a fog every turn when you have Grim Harvest. 6 mana lets you fog every single turn, so we were forced to find Fling and Atog. We were very lucky to find those 2 cards. They, we got to dig quite a bit with Thoughtcast into a Perilous Research, so we weren't that unlikely to start finding those pieces, but lucky to find them together. Our other ways to combat that lock would have been a Galvanic Blast, which would have destroyed his Kami on his turn, not allowing our opponent to fog on our turn, and therefore allowing us to attack for lethal. The other way to do that would have been to Relic of Progenitus and eat his opponent's graveyard, which would have, again, stopped their lock. So we had a couple of different ways that we were looking for to disrupt that Kami lock, but we found the one that had the most direct route to victory, which was Atog and Fling. And we're able to Atog and Fling our opponent in both games. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comment section. Thanks.